Hi, I wanted to start off today by introducing myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Lauren. I'm a senior studio art and chemistry double major here at Hastings College, and today I planned on doing a demonstration, so I've done my best to adapt that for the online platform, and I'm going to show you the behind the scenes of my senior project. I took a 9-foot by 5-foot print from a dinner table, and I'm going to show you kind of the process and how that was achieved. So as I just went over, we're going to be talking about some woodcut techniques as they specifically relate to large-scale woodcuts that I've done here at Hastings College. As I was putting this together, I realized that it's kind of boring for you to just sit and listen to me talk while you look at a PowerPoint slide. So I'm going to show the video that I made first, and then I'll go into my influences, and I'll try and make it as interesting as I possibly can. Here we're mixing up the ink, making sure it's homogeneous, that there's no particles in it. This is an oil-based ink. It's very similar to oil paint, but it is pretty sticky, so Turner would describe it as between axle grease and sticky roofing tar. If you notice that as we're rolling out the ink, we go in lots of different directions to create a really even coating, so that the roller is evenly coated so we can ink up our block. And now we've started inking up the block. Every time we roll on the surface, we pick up the roller and we go to a new spot so we're evenly coating the block. And then we also use different sizes of rollers, so the bigger ones can cover a lot, but later you will see that Carly has a smaller roller right here, and so it allows the ink to get into like the little details and make sure that everything is really well coated. And here we're grabbing the sheets of paper. This is rag paper and it came in a roll, so I had to weigh it down and spray it with water in order to get it to be flat enough to print. And now we have to try and set up the margins for the block, which was really difficult to do because we really didn't have a way of measuring it. Later, Turner tapes a ruler to the bottom of it that kind of let us know where the margins are. We wanted even on the left and right, and then about 6 inches on either end. And this was really hard to do. So you can see Celeste doing her best to guide us, because we had 1 chance to put the paper down and 3 chances to print, as the roll only had enough paper for 3 sheets of 3 full prints. Kind of smoothed the paper down and made sure it all got attached, and then everyone grabbed a wooden spoon, and I had a plastic brayer, and we just hand transferred the ink to the paper. We weighed it down with books on one side so it wouldn't slide at all, and everybody just got to work. So shout out to the printmaking team: Turner, Carly, Celeste, Emily, and Hannah. So once we felt like we had it pretty well transferred, we pulled up each end to check, and then we had to go back and reapply ink in certain areas that were still in need of some more ink, and then we would retransfer it, and then we would check the other side, and we would just keep doing this for a very long time until we felt like the print was ready to be pulled. And then we had to, after we carefully pulled the print off, we put it on some paper on the floor so to minimize any dirt from spoiling the print and giving it time to dry. And this part was really hard because the paper, we printed on rag paper, that's what you print on, and it is pretty brittle, at least in these large sheets, and so we did end up ripping one, but this one went okay. And here's the finished product. So thank you again to my printmaking team. It took 5 of us to make this happen. Here's some detail shots of the table and the final print, so you can see just the amount of tiny carving there is on the surface of the table, and the beautiful details that printed as well. The table took me about a couple months of last semester to carve. I used hand carving techniques at first, and then I used a Dremel to kind of speed that along, but taking care to blend the two patterns together, and I got a lot of feedback about that I really appreciated. But it's really important to the overall idea, just the sheer amount of work that went into carving this, especially since it's images of land, to really create that metaphor where this is the land and we're interacting with it, and it provides us something in return as the print, an example of that space that has been created by humans. It's also really important that the object is a table. So I got this table off of Facebook Marketplace here in town. It started off as a beautiful maple table, and then Melissa Lonely helped me sand down the whole table, and I oiled it and carved it. But using this object as the print and putting it in the gallery as part of the final piece is really important to the overall meaning. So when we think of a table, this is kind of an antique table, so there's a little bit of nostalgia there, and it's a solid wood table, so it is very nostalgic of maybe older styles of furniture, and also brings in those ideas of community and all of the home life that happens involving a table and a family. and then to put scenes of Nebraska on that table, a large flat object, and recreating the plains on top of that kind of brings up the root of what I'm trying to do here, trying to kind of relate us to land and land to us, or like the feeling of a place, and kind of capture that spirit. So I think it really ties it to Nebraska specifically and makes kind of a more Midwestern feeling to it. So here's the final product, how I would want it to be displayed in a gallery setting. I built this frame with the help of my grandpa to display the print on, and it really sets it up nice so that there's a direct comparison between the print and the object that the print came from. That's really important. I feel like that immediate comparison between the two really provides some information about where the print came from and allows you to see exactly what that object is and its size and its weight. And the frame simply elevates the print to the status of the furniture as well, so it has its own weight and the two can exist in the same space very cohesively. I wanted to talk a little bit about my projects for my junior exhibition as well, because these really influenced what I was able to make this year. So I got these doors from the maintenance department at Hastings College, and they are recycled doors, so they had a lot of signs of life on them too as I was carving them. So on the back of them there's stickers, there were like names scratched into them, and like curse words and just things that people had chosen to put on these doors. And so that was really where I got the idea of pushing that metaphor of like a lived space of signs of life on these objects that we can visually see and understand, and relating that to a print by taking a print from that. So I didn't really fully develop this idea last year, but it was really like the spark that started this whole project. And then these doors I wanted to also mention, they are in Denver right now at a regional printmaking exhibition at the Arvada Cultural Center. And as these are too large to be shipped, I needed to hand deliver them, and I received funds from the Students for Students Fund to finance my trip and hand deliver these doors to the gallery. So I just wanted to say thank you so much to them for providing me that opportunity. I'm kind of nearing the end of my time here, but I really wanted to show you the test prints for the agricultural patterns that I developed. I wanted to effectively communicate this idea of Midwesternism, and so I just made a ton of just test prints, just trying out different things, and I'm pretty proud of them, so I would like to show them here too. So I have some options where you can see that Turner and I were working on this idea of like progressive printing. So doing a print where you have you do it in your lightest shade and just some white areas carved out, and then you carve more and more and take prints with varying colors, so then you really get an idea of depth. And it's not something that I went forward with in the table, but I got some really nice prints out of that. I also started off a little more literal, like what if I carved scenes of farmland? And we kind of stepped back from that, or I got advice to step back from that and do more of like a straight aerial overhead view, which I think is a lot more successful because it's like that flyover image that when you see it, you think of the Midwest and flyover territory. And then here is my first attempt at carving an object and taking a print from from a furniture object, as you've already seen my doors. And so this was like a test to take the veneer off of the table. You can see that I gouged the surface quite a bit while doing that because I didn't have any practice. So it was important to get that practice in. And then I also did not sand the surface before I carved. And so the glue from that veneer left a sandy texture on the print. I think it made a very beautiful print, but this was a way for me to kind of explore what carving furniture will be like and to learn from it so I don't mess up the beautiful table that I had found. It was these were all just small experiments to see what was working and what wasn't working and to get people's reactions, which is really important to the overall process. I just want to thank my printmaking team again. A huge thank you to Turner for teaching me everything I know about printmaking over the past 4 years. Thank you to Carly for helping me print this table way too many times. And a thank you to all the faculty at JDAC for speaking with me and sharing your ideas. And thank you again to the printmaking team. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation.